I just got a brief opening statement. Hope that's okay. First of all, just want to make sure that we honor and celebrate National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. A great Huskers event today that my wife came in for, and it's really one of the great things about being here is just the opportunity to see other sports. You don't get that in the National Football League. And elite match last week, watching our women's tennis team play. And so I look forward to being a part of the campus community and watching with my son and my two daughters and my wife all the women athletes here on campus as they excel in their craft. And so a great day to support Title IX and all that it's done for athletics. Obviously excited today to support a Black History Month, the beginning of Black History Month, and obviously support that within our team as well as on campus. Want to wish the best of luck to the four former Huskers that are going to play in the Super Bowl. I had a chance to text back and forth with Ndamukong Suh the other day, Cam Jurgens, Jack Stoll, and DiCaprio Boodle in Kansas City. So excited for those guys. Probably a dream come true. And finally, I tweeted it out yesterday, but really honored that Coach Osborne has agreed to be the keynote speaker at our spring clinic. Just having a chance to visit with him a few times, the amount of football that he's willing to give up to people will be amazing. So it'll be a great clinic. And finally, I just want to just say it's been a privilege getting to know this team. Really, really cool guys on this team. Change is always hard. A new coach is always really, really hard, right? There's this period of, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that, man? But I'm really proud of the way that they're working. They're working really hard, both on the field and off the field. A couple of things I want to highlight from the fall, and this is a credit to Dennis and Andrea and the previous coaching staff, but most importantly, the players. Our fall cumulative GPA for the guys that are returning was 3.124. I think anytime you have a football team that's over a 3.0 GPA, you have a really good culture. 61 of the 98 returning players were a 3.0 or better in the fall. 32 of those guys got a 3.4. 58 Nebraska football players were named to the fall academic All-Big Ten team. In November, the Nebraska football NCAA graduation success rate was reported at 92%, which is the highest in school history. So I think Dennis LeBlanc and his team, they do a fantastic job, and our players are committed to excellence, both on and off the field. So with that, I'll answer your guys' questions.
Can you breathe now a little bit?
After saying that, or from recruiting?
Just the last 2 months, with everything you've been through and adding the number of players you guys have added, hiring coaches, can you kind of finally focus on the team here in Lincoln?
Yeah, well, that part, because there's not going to be any breathing. We're in a sprint, right? Coach Paterno used to always tell us to run scared, and we're going to sprint. We're not taking a break. Now the focus is just purely on the guys that are here, and as I said, there's a lot of winners on this team. There's a lot of guys that I need to do a great evaluation on to help them be the most successful they can be. Hey, should I play this position or that? What should I do? I gave the coaches a couple days off here, but I'm here right now. I'll be here all week, and from here on out, we're working on 2024s, we're working on 2025s, but most importantly, to your point, working on this team and getting ourselves ready to be in a good place for spring ball.
The game of college football changed while you were in the NFL with the transfers. What's your opinion of the portal now that you get through it? I guess 2 months or whatever.
I think the transfer portal is a great thing for young people to control their destiny. Like many other modalities, it gets ruined sometimes by adults. I think more players are probably told to transfer than actually decide they want to transfer. But if a kid's not in the right spot, he should have a chance to leave and have a chance to play right away. I don't like tampering that can sometimes go on where a kid's happy and people are coming in. I'm afraid when the COVID 6 year is over, the impact of it on kids' academics. Sometimes they're 15 credits away one place and they leave, and the new school says, yep, and then now all of a sudden they're 50. But that being said, it's been good to us. We don't want to be the hugest transfer team. We want to recruit high school student athletes. We want to watch them develop over 4 or 5 years. But if someone's somewhere else and they really love Nebraska and think this is the right place for them, then I want them to be here. And if a young person really wants to get on the field and they don't think they can get on the field for us and they have a chance to want to go somewhere else, I want to support them in that. So I'm very kind of student athlete centric. I want each kid to do what's right for them. I don't want them to run away from adversity, but I want them to make a great decision about their future when the time comes.
Matt, we saw the work that your staff did in putting this class together and the transfers together, and even heard from them, from Coach Knighton the other day, about the competitive spirit within this staff to, want to outwork another position group. How do you go about fostering that environment that allows for those guys to compete, not just with other schools, but with each other?
Yeah, I didn't really love it when he said that, to be honest with you. To me, great teams are built on two things: relationships and standards. And so we have a standard. The standard is to work really, really hard. So I know what he means by I don't want competitive where it's like, hey, I want to sign more guys than you, because that leads to bad teams. That leads to, coaches taking guys as favors. Everybody that we bring in is brought in by the entire staff. That being said, I do like the fact that we're still old school, where a lot of teams are flying in somewhere and they'll go see 3 or 4 schools in that area. We're going to go try to affect high schools. We're going to go see 8, 9, 10 high schools. Marcus Satterfield was in Denver working on 2024s in Colorado, and as he was kind of driving by a school and it wasn't on his list, so he called the coach, said, hey, can I come in? And as he's talking to the coach says, hey, listen, I got this kid that's under the radar that no one really knows about. And I think some people are recruiting him, but I think we're missing out on him. And, he signed today. DeAndre signed today. And, he hits all the metrics that we look for. He's, 10'6". He's smart. He's big. And so, to me, the reason why you go out and see as many schools as you do is so that when people do have a transfer, when they do have an under-the-radar guy, they pick up the phone and call the University of Nebraska because they know that they have relationships with the coaches.
Yeah, you got a good taste of it leading up to the early signing period, but is there anything that kind of opened your eyes or maybe reaffirmed your notion going through this thing the full couple months now about Nebraska and the position that you hold?
Yeah, Nebraska. We should recruit well. We will always probably appeal to a certain mindset. It has to be someone who really likes football. Has to be someone who also wants to go to school. Has to be someone that wants to be developed on and off the field. It has to be someone who likes to work. But the brand itself, the fan base, the town, the city of Lincoln, and the facilities, I think a lot of those things are unparalleled. They're unmatched. And so, we should absolutely recruit well every year.
Matt, how do you feel about where your scholarship numbers are at, just overall, and also position-wise? Are there any spots where you feel like you still have spaces to fill, or where? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm very hesitant to talk about positions where we have spaces to fill. Sometimes I hear people talk. I think we all have to be very careful about talking about, well, they're really bad at this position, because these kids are still 18 to 22. They're not NFL players, right? So they're developing. So I can't comment on positions yet, because I haven't coached them. I think after the spring, like I said, I think there's probably a lot of guys. I have 2 guys that played for me in college that are playing in the Super Bowl. Hassan Reddick, and he's going to play edge, what they call edge now, outside backer, DN. He didn't come to college as an outside backer. I have Sean Bradley, who unfortunately is on IR right now, but he's a linebacker. He wasn't a linebacker in high school. So some of the real magic that I think good staffs do is they find the right position for players. Like, hey, you know what? You're a good DN, but I think you could be a great tackle. You're a good outside backer. I think you could be a great fullback maybe. So I think that's part of our magic. In terms of scholarship numbers at positions, we're still not where I would want to be on the O-line. I'd like to always be at 16 scholarship offensive linemen. Watching some of the non-scholarship O-linemen move, they look like scholarship O-linemen at places I've been, but I haven't seen them play, so I have to watch. But that's one area probably to me. We're probably, obviously we're over on scholarships right now. There's so many new rules now that allow you to do some things to get there, so we'll work on that as we go. We've kind of remade the team, and I think the team that's here, they're remaking themselves in the weight room right now. A lot of guys look significantly different to me just after a couple weeks.
Hey, Matt, are all 11 transfers here right now for you guys?
There's no one that's not here. So is there someone you're thinking of?
I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, everyone's here. Yeah, everyone's here. Yes, sir.
You took 3 from Georgia, and you've got the connection to Fran Brown there. How much did that help you kind of get some insight on some of the young men you brought in from Georgia? And did you anticipate getting 3 Georgia Bulldogs from the portal like the way it played out?
Yeah, not really. Obviously they played till late, so they had a limited window because those guys all went into the portal after, except for Eric, after it was over with. But yeah, Fran. As I get older, guys who've coached for me now go on. Fran was, a GA, then a position coach, and now he's really one of the top assistants in the country. Should be a head coach, and will be a head coach. And, as guys were going in, hey, Coach, this is a guy that fits you. He kind of knows how I am, the way I want to do things, the process that we'll want to have, the character of the guys that we want, the work ethic. So he was able to tell me about them and then also tell them about us and what we're doing here and then kind of let us recruit from there. a guy like Eric, Jake Peets, who I worked with, was a Nebraska alum. He had him at LSU, or had gotten there as he was leaving LSU. So even guys that had played with some of these guys who I coached in the NFL were able to kind of speak on them. So I think a big thing is, as you bring transfers in, is why are they transferring? Why do they want to be here? And I think all those guys, to me, they're really good players, and they have a chance to help us. But they also have the right mindset to play, at Nebraska.
Now that the class is all set, what do you like about it? What comes to mind first when you assess its totality?
Yeah, I think we just got, the not kind of like as you're out there in the world and people say, oh, Nebraska, you can find big, strong guys. Can you find speed? Like, just in state, you ain't not going to find anybody faster than Malachi and Jalen. The speed's there. Bryce Turner's as fast a kid as there is in the country. So I like that part of it. But I like each player for who they are. I like the, I first got here, I think the previous staff did a really good job with the big guys, the O-linemen. And then you guys kind of know I'm going to kind of be numbers based. Like when I don't know, I do know that track times and triple jumps and 40-yard dashes, that doesn't mean you're a great football player. But when I'm not sure, those things guide you, right? They're just a rock that you can kind of lean on. And so when I see a kid who's a 47-foot triple jumper and likes football, I'm going to take a chance on him. And so if they have the right mental, and so I like some of those things that we were able to bring in. Had a lot of success over the years bringing guys in who are fast and finding the right position. And so for us to increase our team speed, I'm not saying the previous team was slow, but just to bring in that level of speed to me is really important. And then we brought in some size and, O-linemen, you have to grow them. It takes a little time with them. They have to get in the weight room. But I like the group that we brought in.
Hey, Matt, based on what you said a moment ago, it might still be a little too early to ask this question, but Trev, like 3-4 weeks ago, was talking about how important it is for this program to play complementary football. And I'm curious, based on the personnel guys you have in the locker room now, how does the personnel fit what Tony wants to do on defense? How does that fit what the offense wants to do and vice versa?
Yeah, my goal is to hire coordinators who are smart enough to utilize their best players. Like I'll make them every year. I make them really every spring, every fall. I make them rank the playmakers, make them rank the guys on defense who can affect the ball, and build an offense and a defense that can put those guys on the field. So, when we say, well, Marcus is what I liked about what Marcus did last year at the end of the year at South Carolina was he was basically, everyone was injured. He was playing with 4 tight ends, and the tight end might be taking a speed sweep. He might be lining up a wide out. He used who he had. So. I think we'll find that there's enough talent to go out there and play complementary football. I think the biggest thing is when you say complementary football, to me it's teaching the game. Like lots of people teach X's and O's. They teach their offense. They teach their defense. Teaching the game really matters. Great defenses to me. When the other team scores, when our team scores, they answer a score with a stop. And so when we start realizing, like, bad teams, like, they're not connected. The defense is yelling at the offense is yelling at the defense. When we understand field position, when we understand the kicking, you want to see a bad team, a team that has, and I was a walk-on, and I'm all for walk-ons playing on special teams, but when there's only walk-ons on special teams, it means that they don't understand, the scholarship guys or the starters don't understand, hey, I should affect the game. Hassan Reddick was a first-round draft pick, and he was running down on punt. I know Ed shared that with you guys the other day. Like, guys should want to affect the game. And so we want them to understand what the offense does, even if they get 2 first downs and have to punt the ball. And we have a great punt team, and they have a 42-yard net. That then lets our defense play better football. And so that teaching of the game, that teaching of the clock management, like there's a time to play fast, there's a time to play slow. There's certain times of the game where we really have to understand, the middle 8, which is the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 of the second half, the last 5 minutes of the game. So we want to teach them the game, and so when they watch the game, they're not just watching, oh, so-and-so made a play, oh, so-and-so made a play. It's more about the little things that happen to allow us to have big moments. I hope you see a team next year when you watch us play, when a guy has a long run, he's not pointing at the crowd, he's pointing at his own lineman. I hope you see us next year when a guy has a sack, he's not sitting there. I want him to throw the bones and all that, but then he better turn around to the DBs who covered everybody. So that's complementary football to me. And it's not me. It's I'm able to do what I can do because of the guys around me. So we'll try to do that. I know you're asking about the roster. I just don't know yet. I feel really good about the way areas we're heading, but it's a long, slow process.
How do you take 39 new faces and blend them with guys that you probably don't know that well yet?
because you've only been here 2 months. How do you learn everybody in such a short, compressed amount of time?
They all have their names on the back of their T-shirts. That's number one. Literally, in today's society, teaching, I literally had to say to the guys, hey, guys, do me a favor. When you guys walk up and say hello, for the first couple weeks, just introduce yourself again. I'm meeting 120 new players. There's one of me, there's 120 of you. And I just think being around guys, being around each other, we divided our team up into competition teams the very first Sunday. Not O-line, D-line, but, just everybody getting to know everybody. Because we don't want them to see each other in terms of offense, defense, freshman, senior, walk-on scholarship. They're all people. And all people have dreams, and all people have fears, and just get to know each other. So I think when you have that kind of holistic approach, when you have the same standards for everybody, the best players in our program don't get the perks. The guys who work the hardest to get if there's any perks, they get them. And then, just try to be around, right? As coaches, the more we're around the guys, the more we get to know each other. There's no more, the guys aren't taking their food in the cafeteria and leaving anymore. We sit down, we eat, coaches, they go in, they sit down with the players. We're gonna build, we're gonna build something where we all know each other.
Who you lean on to kind of help with that culture piece? I'm sure it's everybody, but who are the people that you've really kind of gone to, and who came up with that idea about the cafeteria?
No, we've done that everywhere we've been. Yeah, it's just most places you go, guys are kind of always in a rush. They're always on their phone. They're always so we just kind of come up with some standards that what do they have to do with winning? Nothing, but everything. It's if you're willing to sacrifice a little of yourself for the team every day, you have a chance to have a good team. I think we count on everyone to do that. There's some guys on our roster. Corey, obviously, in the weight room, and his staff, they are around the players way more than we are. I tell them, hey, the academic area and the locker room are extensions of the weight room, so go be present, walk through there. Our recruiting guys, they do such a good job building relationships, and when the guys get there, a lot of places they kind of forget about them. Well, no, we continue to want to be around those guys. We try to do at least one thing a week that's kind of team building-ish. It's not mandatory, but, hey, Madden tournament, hey, whatever, just get them around each other. And then, I have 14, I think right now the number's at 14 former players of mine in some role within the organization, whether it's weight room, recruiting, and that's Western Carolina, that's Temple as an assistant, Temple as the head coach, Baylor, and then a couple of Carolina Panthers. So having guys that can explain when the players are like, what's wrong with Coach Rhule? This is what's wrong with him. This is what he really means. It's really vital.
What you see in terms of ability with Eric Gilbert, and what are your hopes for him athletically and personally to be able to drive this program?
Yeah, I just think, he's as talented a player as there is. Okay, so he's a player. What we want to do is, like with all of our players, I want him in 10 years to say his life is better for having played for us at Nebraska, right? That's all I care about with all these guys. So what that means for him, I'm just getting to know him. I want him to have elite success in the classroom. I want him to go be involved in the community. I want him to have great relationships, and I want him to go play well in football. If Eric gets on the field for us, the football for him comes naturally, but we're going to push him to be the best that he can be. And so I think there's a lot of talent there. But with a lot of these guys, there's a lot of talent. We just have to harness it and help them develop it, get them on the field, get them to trust us, and then turn them loose.
You mentioned Corey Campbell earlier. What made him the right man for that job?
Oh, I mean, Corey's elite since the day I first met him at Baylor. He's unbelievably demanding. But people, players either sometimes they either feel like you're for them or against them. He can hold you really, really accountable, and they'd still know he's for them. But he's also really knowledgeable, right? He understands all the science of what he does in the weight room. I mean, I want us to be a place that's on the cutting edge of everything, sports science-wise, player development-wise, recovery-wise. That's what this new building, the Go Big project, is going to allow us to do. But the people have to match the functionality, right? And so Corey has that. And he built a staff of guys. We have a physical therapist as part of our weight room staff. So we have, one of the greatest gifts we can give our players is health. We have the right knowledge base, because I don't know anything about the weight room. I don't know anything about periodization, so I need people that are experts that I can trust, who also have my mindset about culture and about development. And Corey has all of that. Corey's another former walk-on my staff too. There's a bunch of us that had to fight our way for everything. Sorry, Amy.
Sorry to cut you off. With all of the assistants that we've gotten the chance to know so far, the word that keeps coming up with them is how this staff is like a family. How does that manifest from your perspective?
Well, I thought I saw what Ed said. I try to listen to the coaches' press conferences. A, so sometimes we make fun of them for something they said, or B, so. But Ed, who no one's ever loved the press conference more than Ed. Let me just say that, okay? But Ed, I thought when he talked about family the other day and about being at Adam's wedding and about the funeral, a former player and former assistant that passed away for us. I actually screenshotted that and I sent it out to the whole staff. Because there's so many of us that have been together for such a long time and some of us, like Philip, I saw Philip 10 years ago. I haven't seen him in 10 years, right? But there's these connections, and I also hired a defensive coordinator I never worked with. It's not like I'm just hiring people I know. Like, I want everyone in our organization, on our staff, to understand that family is, for us, family is not blood. It's the decisions we make every day to protect each other and to push each other and to advocate for each other. And so it can be little things. It's Terrence Knighton's son, Jameer, has his first 8th grade basketball game, and I show up to cheer him on, right? Because, I want him to know, hey, Jameer, thank you for moving across the country. The impact of this is an unbelievable opportunity, but the sacrifice of our spouses and the sacrifice of our kids is, my kids just moved 3 years ago, and now they got to turn around and move again. And even though they're coming to a wonderful place, it's still hard on kids. So when my coaches see my kids and they hug them like they're their own, A, I think that has a great impact on our players, but B, we become like family. And so I really mean it when I say that I want our players to say their lives are better for having been there, but I also want all the coaches who coached me to say the same thing. Working for Coach Rhule working for Matt was a great time in my life, and my life is better for that. And that includes their families too. So we work really hard. We're really honest with each other. It's not easy. The camera's killing me. Sorry. It's not easy to work here. The standards are high. You guys have done a really nice job making a big deal about Ed going around. And I think Ed's doing what we've always done. Going to 8 schools a day in the state of Nebraska is the bare minimum. We're not doing something special. We're not oh, wow, look how hard they work. We're just doing our jobs. We're showing up and doing our jobs. Stopping at a high school and them having a cup of coffee, and the special education, special needs students are giving away coffee and taking a picture with them, that's called being hardworking. And the people of Nebraska work way harder than us. That I know. I've been to some small towns. I've been to the cities now. I've seen people in the state. You guys work hard. So we're not going to celebrate ourselves for working hard. We're going to celebrate ourselves for having a purpose where we're trying to help young people have better lives. That's really what's important. The working hard is because we want to win too.
Expanding on that value of family, how are you taking your family aspect of the staff and carrying it over to the community, both with Nebraska Athletics and Lincoln, Omaha area too?
Well, Nebraska Athletics is just getting around the student athletes, right? So I'm sitting in the lunchroom the other day, and Omar's talking to a couple of the young ladies on the women's tennis team, and I'm talking to them, and a couple of football players are sitting with us, and I believe her name's Sam. She's a senior from Miami. She's like, we're playing today at 4. You guys coming? Yep. So we went and watched them. Now, first of all, I love college tennis. It's one of the great things. It's one of the great sports to go watch because there's a lot of action going on. But I think there was 27 football players there. There's the coaches are there. Trev is there. And we're supporting. You know what I mean? It's way easier to play when you got coaches screaming let's go FISA. Play better. So we just we're not going to take ourselves too seriously. We're not celebrities. We're coaches, right? We coach a game, just a game. All right, and so. We're going to be there to support the other student athletes. We're going to be there to support the students on campus. Any way that we can help within the community, we're going to do it. Not because it's our job, but because that's what good people do. And there's a lot of other good people that just Twitter doesn't recognize them, that do way more than we do.
What do you hope your quarterbacks accomplish before spring game? You lose any of them,
Yeah.
go back.
Right.
That's a lot of them.
Right.
And so what are you kind of hoping to see from them as leaders and as culture developers when there's so many of them and there's so many players to get to know?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm trying to teach the team, because sometimes we can always be very outcome based. I want to go to a bowl game next year. And it's just worry about today. The other thing is, I'm worried about the team, and I'm going to worry about these guys. Just if everybody just gets 1% better every day, if the best way to improve the team is to improve yourself. So that model of, hey, just improve yourself, and then other people will follow you. So if quarterbacks are going to have voluntary throwing on their own, and they show up 5 minutes early and they're prepared, and then that will have an impact on everybody else. What we don't need is a bunch of guys we don't need every highlight video with people talking, right? We just need people doing. Christian McCaffrey said something to me great one time. He said, we just need to play loud. Like, everyone wants to talk, just play loud. And so the quarterbacks, to me, they can just be serious about themselves, academically, athletically, and in the community. They can be the same guy when the coaches aren't around as when the coaches are around, and that sends a real message to the team. And then, you know what, when they know everybody's name on the team and they know the people that work in the cafeteria's names, and then they become someone that people want to follow. And so I like the group. We have a couple guys that won't be able to do spring because of their shoulders, right? Logan and Casey won't be able to do that. There'll be a time here soon where we'll start working on football. They've got to learn a lot of X's and O's and a lot of different things. But right now, I just want them working on themselves. And invariably, they have enough charisma that people will follow them.
Take one or two more.
Since the last time we talked to you, Xavier Betts and Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda were added to the roster. What made you feel good about that after maybe talking to them?
Yeah, they didn't go in the transfer portal on me. They had done that before, so I had no real issue with that. Like I said, I'm going to take everything on a case-by-case basis. Jeff Nixon, who worked with me, was a high school teammate of mine, worked with me, and his son played on the team, called me about Xavier. I didn't know who Xavier was. And so I talked, I just met with him. I love Xavier Betts. And I don't love Xavier Betts because of who he is as on the football field, because that's what's wrong when people think you only love him. I love who he is as a person. I like getting to know him. I like that, I appreciate, he texted me happy birthday yesterday. Okay, that means something to me. So I like who he is as a guy. I'm rooting for him. I'm anxious to see him kind of get back on the football field and do well in the classroom. So I'm anxious to not just give him a chance, but to be an advocate for him. My son's 18. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his life. I want him to go places where they has people who, they don't entitle him, they don't enable him, but they advocate for him. So we'll do that for Xavier. And then, Isaiah, he just reached out, and I was like, hey, let's give him a chance. Give everybody a chance, and then go through the spring, and then people are going to see the standards and how we do things, and they'll either decide that they want to do it or not. But it hadn't gone on the portal on me, so it really didn't affect me.
Not Billy Kemp, how did you get him? And what can he bring to this team, not only from a skill perspective, but also with his experience just being valuable in the locker room?
Yeah, he's caught a ton of balls, and he's been through 2 coaching staffs, so he's had to learn a lot of offense. I'm excited about him as a return man, but he's a guy, his stature, people will think he's an inside receiver, but you watch him in the ACC, he's playing outside, he's playing inside. He's a guy that can, move the chains on third down. He's competitive. He's a guy, as I watched, to your point about the quarterbacks, I watch him mentor other people by doing the right thing himself and kind of bringing some young guys along the way. But we want to be dynamic in special teams. We want to score on special teams. I'm not saying we will. I'm saying we want to, just so everybody knows before everybody retweets that. But he's a big key to that, right? Because having a veteran punt returner, kick returner, especially in the conditions here, will be really important.
One more?
Do you know how big you want the roster to be long-term, in terms of total players? We've seen it get to 155 all the way down to maybe 110, 115 over the years. Do you have an idea what you want your roster size to be long?
Yeah, I think a lot of things about the roster are going to be determined just really via Title IX and some of the things, coming in terms of what we can do. So that's probably still working with the athletic department on that. I want to make sure we give kids an opportunity to play here, but also give every kid the right amount of resources. We're not going to have a walk-on lifting session or a walk-on, I was a walk-on. That just meant how I got on the team. That doesn't mean once they get here to me, they're non-scholarship players and scholarship players. So we have to make sure the roster is manageable enough that we can really give everybody the academic, life skills, football training, recovery, resources that they deserve. But I don't know what that number necessarily will be yet. I think that's still, probably outside my purview.
What comment, if any, can you make about the story that broke today about potentially following suit against the Carolina Panthers?
I can't comment on that. I'm sorry. I understand you have to ask that, but I can't. I'm sorry.